popularity of the Twilight series, a lot of people come into the library asking, what other vampire books can I read? Well, we have the answer for you. If you're a teen, we're likely to tell you about the young adult vampire series, although we do have some for adults as well. One of the young adult series that's been very popular is the House of Night series by PC and Kristen Cast. The first book, Marked, begins with Zoe, our main character, finding out that she is about to become a vampire. Her life goes from being a regular teen with all of the problems of her boyfriend and her best friend to becoming a vampire teen with all of the problems of her new best friend and her possible new boyfriends and everything else that that entails. She has to deal with all of the trouble of being an adolescent along with the trouble of being a vampire. Another teen series that's been very popular is the Vampire Academy series, which is written by Rochelle Mead. The first book in this one is called Vampire Academy, and it's the story of the two best friends, Rose and Lissa, who end up at St. Vladimir's Vampire Academy. And while they're there, they have to endure peer pressure, nasty gossip, and figure out their relationships, all while dealing with life and death threats. Now, this book is definitely more mature than the Twilight series, and there is some sex and some language, so make sure you're a little older. For the adults who fell in love with Twilight and they lost their hearts to Edward, we have some adult romances that are also vampire books. Christine Feehan writes the Dark series, which is also known as the Carpathian series. All of these titles, which she has 21 books in this series, they all begin with Dark. The first one is Dark Prince. These vampires are called Carpathians, and they are not your typical vampire. There is a genetic mutation that causes them to be vampires. The books in themselves are each romances with a happily ever after at the end, but there are recurring characters, and the series builds in as the Carpathians try to understand why their race seems to be dying out. Another big romance series is Sherilyn Kenyon's Dark Hunter and Dream Hunter series. These books are in two different series, but the series intertwine. So there are 18 books total there, and the first one is called Fantasy Lover. These books, while they do have vampires, are primarily set around the Greek mythology. The Greek gods and goddesses are all real, along with some leftover Atlantean gods and goddesses, and a few others thrown in just for fun. Most of these books take place in New Orleans, but some of them are set at the far reaches of the world. There are each one happily ever after, but they do have recurring characters that come back to increase the knowledge as the series continues. You'll look for your favorite characters time and time again. The Black Dagger Brotherhood is a little different than most typical romances. It's a little edgier, it's a lot darker. There is a happily ever after in each book. There are 8 in the series so far. But the main focus of the book is on the men, which isn't what you usually find in a romance series. The men of the Black Dagger Brotherhood are recurring characters in each of the books, and they build on their mythology as the books increase. By the time book 8 came out, it wasn't so much romance anymore, although there was a happily ever after, but it's more an urban fantasy. These books are set in upstate New York, but the writer currently lives here, well, close to here, in Louisville, Kentucky. Another series that delves into more urban fantasy and mystery is the Anita Blake Vampire Hunter series by Laurel K. Hamilton. She has 19 books in her series at this time, beginning with Guilty Pleasures. Guilty Pleasures, along with all the others, are written from Anita Blake's point of view. Anita Blake is not your ordinary human. She has supernatural powers of her own, which put her on par with the vampires and were-animals that she encounters. She also works as a vampire executioner, which sometimes puts her at odds with the men who are pursuing her romantically. And the final series has been very popular thanks to the HBO series True Blood. It's Charlaine Harris's Sookie Stackhouse Southern Vampire series. These are set in northern Louisiana, and the series does a pretty good job of following along with the books, although each have its own surprises. The tone of the books is a little different because it's told from Sookie's first-person point of view. So these books aren't primarily romances, but more mysteries with some romance thrown in. The adult books definitely are heavy on the language and sexual content, so buyer beware before you open them up. Vampire books are not for the faint of heart, but if you're interested in a little heart-pumping, blood-curdling action, why not read a vampire book?